neguinho na estrada, upa pra lá e pra cá, virgem. Que coisa mais linda, upa neguinho começando a andar. Upa neguinho na estrada, upa pra lá e pra cá, virgem.
Neguinho na estrada, upa pra lá e pra cá. Vixe, que coisa mais linda, upa neguinho começando a andar. Opa, neguinho na estrada, upa pra lá e pra cá, vixe, que coisa mais linda, opa, neguinho começando a andar. Opa, neguinho na estrada, upa pra lá e pra cá, vixe.
Hamilton, foi meio parecido esse que teve acho que foi na Inglaterra.
Em Silverstone?
É.
Não, o Neguinho meteu o carro e deixou.
Mas foi o que o Senna fez.
Não, o Senna não fez isso. O Senna saiu reto. Reto.
Você acha que ele não faria aquela curva?
Ele? É. Nunca.
Entendi.
Não, ele foi para assim, aqui eu arranco ele de qualquer maneira. O Neguinho deixou o carro, e é uma curva, é porque você não conhece a curva, é uma curva muito de alta, não tem jeito de passar dois carros, e não tem jeito de você botar o carro do lado.
Entendi.
O Neguinho fez de sacanagem.
Ele fez de sacanagem.
Agora, só acho que...
Alright, it is time to talk about Nelson Piquet Sr. Why am I talking about Nelson Piquet Sr.? Because he called Sir Lewis Hamilton Neguinho. Now I've started off this video with the song Upa Neguinho and with the two covers of it by different races of artists. Now why have I done that? Well, I've done that because one, I want to call into question what exactly this word means colloquially in Brazil. You know, even if the word means nigga, it's not so heavy a curse word as to be barred from pop songs, from even being in the titles of pop songs. And look, I understand you can put a swear word in the title of a song, like, you know, it's not like the radio ain't gonna play it. It's not like the radio won't play it. But still, there's this song with this title, Upa Neguinho. It gets covered by all manner of different people. I've checked the Urban Dictionary definition of Neguinho. Urban Dictionary states that it isn't, it's not exactly a racially tied word. It's not tied to this or that race. It doesn't have any racial connotations to it. And you know, after seeing that song, after listening to that song and seeing the covers and what have you, I'm inclined to believe that. I'm inclined to believe Nelson Piquet's assessment of this of the situation that he himself has created, and that he perhaps didn't mean offense by it. The word either means somebody or nobody, you know, guy or nobody to him, whatever he said. It's really inconsequential at this point. You see, Piquet could have solved himself a whole lot of trouble by just referring to Sir Lewis Hamilton as Hamilton. Then that would be that. Then maybe I might be kicking up a fuss about, oh, they ain't calling him Sir, but oh well, he's Brazilian, so I wouldn't be expecting him to call him Sir anyway. But yeah, I'm wary of commentators who say otherwise regarding this word Neguinho. I am really wary of them. Why is that? Well, when you've been on this internet thing for a long time, well, you see some shit, right? I've seen some channels, fledgling channels, you know, here and there. And it's usually the channels that are talking about American sport that fall to this, right? But I've seen some fledgling channels here and there, and if they go against whatever the if they go against whatever the mainstream liberal media is peddling as their narrative, well, their channel will get quote unquote attacked, right? There's Discord groups that get paid by who? I don't know. It could be the CIA, could be the FBI, could be the FBI, could be, you know, one of the Voldemorts, one of these men that we're not allowed to name, right? But these groups are real. They go and they destabilize counterculture phenomenon, and yeah, part of that involves getting rid of commentators who perhaps do not toe the media narrative. And the one way they do that is with commenters on videos and what have you in the comment section. Maybe you're live streaming or what have you, you might get a quote unquote troll in your live stream. A lot of these people are being paid to do this shit. Believe it or not, a lot of these people are being paid to do this shit. So when you've been on the internet long enough, you really grow wary of, well, commenters whose talking points can be, you know, discarded or forgotten about, or frankly ignored upon doing some light research. Because there can't be a popular song with Neguinho in the title that gets covered by both black and white Brazilians or Portuguese speakers today and still be trying to make some sort of racist claim around this word. Now, like I've said, or perhaps I haven't said this, Piqué could have sold himself a whole lot of trouble by just referring to Sir Lewis Hamilton as Hamilton. Then really there would be nothing to talk about here. Even if Nelson Piqué didn't like how Sir Lewis handled that corner at the British Grand Prix where him and Max collided or whatever. Even if he's got a contra opinion to what, I don't know, the Sir Lewis Hamilton fans have, even if he's got a contra opinion to that, it wouldn't matter, because it would just be another opinion at the end of the day. But I really can't be getting upset about a word that is culturally common enough in Brazil or among Portuguese speakers to have spawned a song, Upa Neguinho, which still gets covered today, right? The song still gets covered today in the highly politically correct world that we're in the highly politically correct monoculture that the intelligentsia is attempting to manifest. Even in that environment, this song still gets covered. This song still gets playtime. It's irresponsible for me to, one, listen to these commentators because they would have to explain. And these commentators claim to be from Brazil or Portuguese speaking, right? If they are, then sure. But it's very irresponsible to me to be giving their words so much weight when I can just type Neguinho into the YouTube search bar and it's going to produce me a song and a whole lot of covers of said song. Now I also want to talk about the Elvis Presley thing here because we're basically talking race and culture in this video. And if you are a subscriber of Mark Priestley's, you know, he's not about to get any slander or anything, like nothing bad is coming his way. I just want to make people aware of something in regards to how the media play their games. Alright, so Elvis Presley noted, I believe it was in 2020 when he was releasing his book, that some mechanics did not want to work on Sir Lewis Hamilton's car at McLaren when he was the rookie driver. Now, just for posterity, right, people have to understand, that was a rookie driver versus a two-time reigning world champion. It's no secret that the mechanics were, well, having a kerfuffle amongst themselves to, I want to work on the champion's car, we're going to win another champion. That's no secret. The same thing is happening at Alfa Romeo right now with Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou. All the best mechanics have gone to Bottas' side. That's why his car is so reliable compared to Zhou's. That's why his car is just in general faster compared to Zhou's. So this is just the way it happens in F1, and you know it would be a smart move by the team to put their best mechanics on what they believe would be the faster side of their garage. That's no secret. But anyway, why am I talking about this Elvis Presley story? Because this Elvis Presley story, he mentioned this in 2020 when he was releasing his book. The media only reported on it this year, 2022, and it was while the racist abuse incidents at McLaren was going on. When I say at McLaren, it was on social media, but there was a McLaren employee that was behind that. Now, that racial incident was real. Whatever racism can be inferred from this Elvis Presley thing is not real. Right? Just like the Nelson Piquet racism claim. Now, why do I say that? Because there'll probably be some people who say that, oh well, you know, in a garage of 50 or 100 mechanics, there's gonna be at least some racists in there, right? Like, yeah, even in an organization of 1,000, there's gonna be some racists here and there. But the problem that arises when, well, we're talking about quote-unquote racists, and I don't even believe racists are a real thing. We'll get to that in a second. But the problem when talking about racists, in F1 in particular, is that when you do find a racist in F1, you're really finding an outlier. Right? You're really finding an outlier, but all that aside, because F1 hires for excellence, you are inevitably going to select people from the extremes of society. Just because, well, the excellence can't just pool in the middle. The excellence can't just pool on the left. The excellence can't just pool on the right. The excellence has to be spread across all the ideologies. So McLaren will just as well have a socialist in their ranks, crazy fucking socialist. And, you know, they won't be a problem until they say something crazy in a socialist context, I suppose. This Priestley story, the media reported on it. Here's the problem with even trying to assume that there's some type of ill intent from either McLaren or their personnel or what have you. Here's the problem with that, and that's that McLaren are already one of the most progressive teams on the grid, if not the most progressive team on the grid, right? They had a black mechanic in the early 2000s, before it was popular to have a black mechanic, right? Before Red Bull popularized it. They had a black mechanic. I don't know Homeboy's name. I really don't know Homeboy's name, but they had a black mechanic. McLaren were hiring women before it was popular. McLaren hired the first black F1 driver. You know, they even got the first black world champion. Quote unquote black, I should be saying, but anyway. So, you see, when presented with an organization that is as progressive as McLaren, and oh well, there's still racists here and there, at some point it really stops being expedient to worry about racists. I mean, you know, one should even consider what race is actually, but I'll get to that in just a second, right? The point I want to make here is that the media delayed this report, and likewise the PK report. They delayed this Elvis Presley report and this Nelson Piquet Sr. report, specifically because they want to time their releases to destabilize Sir Lewis Hamilton in some fashion. So right now we've got this Nelson Piquet situation going on, and Sir Lewis, he's just become a Brazilian citizen, right? He's just been granted Brazilian citizenship. So now if, you know, I'm just imagining here theory crafting going on a riff, right? But if you are now in Brazil, right, and Neguinho is a regular term there, maybe it's a generational divide type of situation. Maybe the young kids don't use it, the old folks do. And when I say old folks, we're not talking that old, maybe like 30 years old they use it. 30 and up they use it, right? But imagine now you're in Brazil, right? You are a Brazilian. And you've got a whole lot of Brazilian friends with you, okay? Now, would there not be some sort of divide over well, one, this PK news, and two, the reaction to it, the response to it. Because now PK has been banned from all F1 events. There might be some Brazilians that say, oh look, we just gave Sir Lewis Hamilton Brazilian nationality. Now he's getting upset about being called Neguinho, when my own mom calls me Neguinho. You know? When the man's own mom calls him Neguinho. You know, when they play a song that says Upa Neguinho, you know, for the holidays, you know, Christmas rolled around, get that Upa Neguinho going, you know, probably what happens there. Someone could correct me on that if they so wish to. But now you're going to have a divide in Brazil where some people are going to say, well, the Sir Lewis Hamilton guy, he's ungrateful, he doesn't understand our culture, and we've let him be a citizen. And then there's other people who are going to say, oh, well, PK did a racist thing. You know, he shouldn't take his position so lightly, all of that. So now you've got divide being created. That's all that's really important here for the media. And the media are the cathedral of the technocracy. That's, well, that's manifesting itself. But now is a good time to talk about race, I suppose. Right? I really have to talk about race and culture and how the media is always trying to stir the pot in regards to race. So firstly, race is just a corporate designation. You know, I really need people to understand that. Race is a corporate designation. There is no actual black man, there is no actual white man, there is no actual yellow man, there is no actual red man, the Indians, right? And where does this corporate designation come from? This corporate designation comes from the Americas, America, of course. Why has the Americas instituted this whole black, white, mixed, yellow, Indian? Why have they instituted all of that? Well, there's a bunch of stuff I can't actually get into specifically, but just to get to the gist of it, right, in regards to why this corporate designation has been made it out to the world. Number one, the new Babylon is the USA, right, and what happens in Babylon must happen around the world. Now, the problem in America and why they've gone with this this corporate designation of race is that is that the American black man's culture has been lost to history. You see, this is the American black man's world, that his culture is lost to history, and now we are watching him attempting to build or create a culture in real time, and there's a whole lot of decisions that have to be made in regards to what is and isn't going to be a part of the culture. The N-word is one of those. But mind you, there are other people to get information on regarding the American black man's world and his lost culture, right? But because the American black man's culture has been lost to history, now either it's been lost sincerely or been purposefully obfuscated, however you slice it, it's the same thing. And because his culture is lost to history, he now has to be black, whatever black means, quote unquote black, right? Even though race is just a corporate designation. Why do I say race is a corporate designation? Because if you look at Africa, Africa has the highest genetic diversity of all the continents. And why does it have the highest genetic diversity? Because it has the highest cultural diversity at the same time. Now they call all of us here in Africa black, quote unquote. Right? That doesn't really fit. Because even here in South Africa, you've got isiZulu, isiXhosa, isiSotho, Indebele, isiSwati. I'm not even going to get all of them, but these are the 5 examples that I can present. And yeah, they're going to regard all of us as black, but we all regard ourselves as different cultures here. And quite frankly, people refer to themselves as their culture, not their race. I'm Zulu, right? I'm not black, I'm Zulu. Mind you, I'm both Zulu and Xhosa, so at this point I should probably say I'm Xhosa, but anyway. But people generally refer to themselves as their culture, you know, because the race you can see, unless it's not so obvious, like maybe someone's colored. Right now, someone's gonna say, "Oh, we're being racist, so calling mixed race people colored." Like, look, I'm in South Africa. This is what the colored people themselves want to be called here. So, you know, from where I'm standing, you men being racist. But anyway, quote unquote racist. But anyway, all right. Africa has the highest cultural diversity. It's got the highest genetic diversity. All these people are regarded as black. That's a misnomer. When Africans move, at least in modern era, right? But when Africans move, they still retain their culture wherever it is they're migrating to. So nowadays you've got like Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians. Y'all giving all the best talent to England, but anyway, a lot of Nigerians are going to Britain, the UK, to find work, what have you. And even when they've been there for 10, 15 years, they still retain their culture, right? They still retain their culture. Why is the culture important? Because, well, you need the culture in order to give your life some sort of direction, some sort of map. All right, and on the issue of race and genetic diversity and Africa and well, just people in general, right? You know, I can swing this to the Eurozone. And there's going to be all white folk who know this, some black folk might know this, but not all white men, quote unquote white men, are regarded as white. All right, you've got the Slavs. They were former slaves. That's the etymology of the word slave. They were slaves to the Arabs, I believe. But anyway, they are not regarded as quote unquote white by the white man. So if you go to the Nordics, if you go to the Nordic region, they wouldn't be regarded as classically white. If they go to if the Slavs were to go to the UK, they wouldn't be regarded as classically white. If they went to France, they wouldn't be regarded as classically white. So even the quote-unquote white man, you know, some white men are more white than others, as it were, right? But anyway, I just want people to be aware of all of this stuff. Because really, when the media kicks up a fuss about race this week or the next week, it was probably going to be like all season, and maybe even into next season. But when the media kicks up a fuss about race, it's worth considering that. Well, it's worth considering. Well, at least for my lensing, with race just being a corporate designation, that culture is the only thing that actually matters, and culture supersedes race just as well. This is why we've encountered this news of Nelson Piquet dropped an N-bomb. Well, the fact of the matter is, in Brazil, you know, he's got the in this instance it would be the language for the connection to be saying Neguinho. Right, he's got the culture for the connection. And the culture, you know, even with the elites trying to set up their monoculture, the culture of all these different countries doesn't change on a dime. It doesn't change in any sort of hurry. It's very slow. It's like a battleship. It turns very slowly. Likewise, PK having lived longer, and the song having lived longer than, I would assume, some of the progressive Brazilians who are far younger than the old guard, right? The actual authority on the culture is someone like Nelson Piquet Sr. But anyway, you know, if you go back in time far enough, right? If you go back in time far enough, everyone came out of the same spot, right? We all came out of the cradle of mankind. So, given enough time, let me not say given enough time. If you wind back the clocks far enough, essentially everyone should have an end pass, an end card. If you say nigga, if you wind back the clocks far enough. Now, of course, people are not going to accept that. People are going to say, oh, what about slavery? Here's the thing about slavery, right? Everyone has been a slave. The American black man is just the most recent slave. Well, I say that. Meanwhile, there's slavery happening right now other parts of the world. But the American black man is the most recent slave. And I've seen some other comment by a brother, or it might be a sister, I don't know. But I've seen some other comment by someone. Yeah, he was saying that, you know, the word Slav and the word nigger, it's essentially the same thing, they mean the same thing. Technically, yes, but the way the language has evolved over time, it's not exactly the same, albeit it might be employed the same. Albeit it might be employed the same in some specific instances. Let's say the American black man continues to use the word nigger. He doesn't decide to censor this word from his culture. What happens in, I don't know, 200 years time, 300 years time, 1,000 years time, right? Is the American black man not just being referred to as the nigger? Just in the same way the Slavs are now using a descriptor of, well, when they were slaves to actually identify themselves. You see, now that's pretty much the same place I see the N-word going, given enough time, but you know, we really just have to see what happens as time unfolds. But in this video, you know, if you've gotten this far in the video, I just want people to be made aware that yes, even though there are all these incidents out here, some might be racial, some might not be, even though there's all these incidents, I just want people to be made aware that the media is not actually your friend. They're not actually your friend. When they tell you something, they're telling you something for a reason. They need a specific response out of you. And, you know, or perhaps people don't know. All right, with the world going sideways right now, you know, Joe Biden's experiencing dementia, and the Eurozone is feeling a crunch off the back of this Russia-Ukraine thing. And regarding the Russia-Ukraine thing, you kind of have to get your information about the Russia-Ukraine war from secondary sources. So, for instance, there are a lot of countries now looking to join BRICS, so that tells me that Russia is winning in Ukraine, despite NATO's best efforts. The media, anytime they start losing narrative control, I shouldn't say the media, it's the cathedral, right? It's the cathedral that's employed by the apparatus. And the cathedral is where normies congregate in order to worship the current society. But the cathedral, when the cathedral is losing narrative control for whatever reason, then they put out one of these racial headlines. Oh, look, Nelson Piquet said, Neguinho, get the black man riled up and let's cause a stir. You know, at least they'll be talking about racial issues for the 1 millionth time, instead of all the fucking madness that's going on in the world. And this is how the media retains control. And this is how the media retains narrative control. And they have to retain control of the narrative, because if they lose control of the narrative, well then the society already being out of control is an issue enough, but because they have enough control measures about, like with the media apparatus, it's not really a problem. But if they lose control of the narrative, then, well, they wouldn't be able to tell people to wear masks for COVID if they lost narrative control, for instance. Right? And David Icke was about to perhaps make them lose narrative control. That's why he got offed, right? He got censored. When I say offed, I'm not meaning like killed or what have you. He just got censored, right? Likewise, Alex Jones, he threatens narrative control, censored. Anyone who threatens narrative control gets censored. And that's why you kind of have to move clever on this internet space. And I need to address this regarding, you know, there was another comment I saw regarding, well, it was a response to Lugano. Is the Don's name Leo or what have you? And he was asking, what is the black man a creator of? Now, you see, the reason that I don't like getting into the whole, oh, let's compare what each race has created thing. Like, the reason that it's irresponsible to do that is because well, a lot of people don't actually know what has and hasn't been created by their race. You see, because the white man has built the society, quote unquote white man, and I shouldn't be saying quote unquote every time, but you know, because the white man has built this society, right? He has painted himself as the grand engineer, the grand architect, the grand inventor, the solver of all problems, right? He has painted himself as that. Now, what that entails is that you're going to even have commoners, Joe Public, who are going to, well, who by design have to also fall for this narrative of, well, the white man invented everything, right? And it's really a Google search away. You see, this is the thing about living in current era, right? It's gotten to a point where it's borderline inexcusable to not be able to source your own information, right? It's gotten to that point. You see, all you have to do on Google is type, what have black people invented or what have you, and you'll get a whole list. The gas mask, created by a black man, if you didn't know. Blood bank, created by a black man, if you didn't know. Home security system, invented by a black man, if you didn't know. The 3 lights traffic light, black man. Refrigerated trucks, black man. Printing press, black man. Like, some of these are such revolutionary technologies, especially refrigerated trucks. I mean, that one will be well understated, right? But that's so massive an invention that, it almost puts everything else to shame. Because suddenly, with refrigerated trucks, you're able to get food to, well, a whole order of magnitude more people. So you see, we live in a society currently that that the intelligentsia, the architects, the engineers, the creators, they have had to obfuscate the truth from people, and, well, people have fallen for that truth. A lot of people, they've fallen for the intelligentsia scheme. They've been put under psychosis. They now believe the white man invented everything. And I feel bad for people because it's just a lie that the intelligentsias had to tell them in order to push this society through the starting blocks, as it were. Alright, so always be aware of when the intelligentsia and the media are at play. And always be aware that these people are not your friends. They aren't here to inform you just to inform you for information's sake. They're here to, quite frankly, divide and conquer, right? Any story that can divide people, cool, they'll put that out. And all these stories that have come out recently regarding race, aside from the McLaren employee doing a madness on social media, they're kind of nothing burgers. They are kind of nothing burgers, all of them. And I should address the article relating to Priestley never said that the mechanics there were engaging in quote-unquote racism. It just quoted him. Oh, the mechanics didn't want to work on his car. They never said didn't want to work on the rookie's car, right? They didn't say that in the article itself. But they did say they didn't want to work on. He did say that they didn't want to work on the car, on Sir Lewis Hamilton's car. And I know well enough there's going to be people who might have read the headline or what have you. Perhaps they've never watched Mark Priestley's videos or what have you. And they would have come to a conclusion, this guy's just a racist like the rest of them or whatever. And he's got one of the most glowing takes of Sir Lewis Hamilton that you can probably find on the internet. Right? It's Elvis Presley who's saying that Sir Lewis is more interested in the car as a GP2 driver than the actual contracted drivers of Kimi Räikkönen and Juan Pablo Montoya. It's Priestley who's super impressed that Sir Lewis Hamilton is coming with the whole McLaren team to Finland for their pre-season fitness training and their team bonding exercises. You know, it's Elvis Presley who's giving him credit for all of that. But they've put his name in this article, and now there's going to be people who are like, oh, that Elvis Presley guy, oh, he must be a racist, right? There's going to be people who do that. This is all that the media seeks to do. But yeah, do be aware when the media sets about quickening itself the way it has this last week, because, well, also with the Yuri Vips fallout as well, so be aware when the media jumps on opportunities like this to sow division among the human race. Alright, always be aware of it. Anyway, that's the vid. Peace.
Hell breezy. Let me show you how to keep the dice rolling when you're doing that thing over there. Hey. Let's go! Cause I'm feeling like I'm running and I'm feeling like I gotta get away. Better know that I don't and I won't ever stop. Cause you know I gotta win every day. Go! See, you really wanna pop me. Go! Just know that you will never flop me. And I know that I gotta be a little cocky. Go! You ain't never gonna stop me. Every time I come a nigga gotta set it, then I gotta go and then I gotta get it, then I gotta blow and then I gotta shut it. Any little thing a nigga think that he be doing, cause it doesn't matter, cause I'm gonna dead it. Then I'm gonna murder everything and anything about it. Boom, about a bing. I gotta do a lot of things to make it clearer to a couple niggas that I always win and then I gotta get it again and again and again. And I be doing it to death and now I move a little foul. Nigga better call a rap and everybody know my style. Niggas know that I'm the best when it comes to doing this, and I be banging on my chest and I bang in the east and I banging in the west and I come to give you more and I will never give you less. You will hear it in the street or you can read it in the press. Do you really wanna know what's next? Let's go. See the way we on it and we all up in the race, and you know we gotta go and try to keep up with the pace and we struggling and hustling.